If you don't think that the industry right now is listening to us, well, I have a story for you. At least I'm going to comment on a story that's, well, one of the most recent things coming out of the Variety Intelligence platform. In fact, if you actually know for a fact that they're listening to us, and many of you do, well, they're at the point now where it's remarkable that they are actually stealing our talking points and parroting them back like they're their own original thoughts. In fact, I think one or two of the things that are said in the article are essentially a word-for-word quote verbatim from myself, and another one from somebody else that you know, Tom Connors at Midnight's Edge. So let's see if you can pick out what I'm talking about here, and let's jump right in. Here we go. So the trades have spent the last 2 years, trying to manipulate not just their audience, but the public broadly. Usually the trades are focused on, the little high school club, the yearbook committee that is Hollywood. Because, I mean, let's be honest, that's kind of what it is. But in the last couple of weeks, and this is a strange thing, they've been coming to the same realization that all of your favorite creators have been coming to for months and months and months. There are no big films hitting theaters for months. That's right. There's nothing big coming out for a long, long time. And even after that, there are fewer films, and we'll get into that in a moment, that are coming down the pipe for 2023. See, the poorly managed Cineworld Group, the cinema folks' second largest exhibitor on the globe, right? That's proof right there of the lack of content, because they're headed into an organized bankruptcy proceeding. I think Chapter 11 is what was reported most recently. Top Gun Maverick is actually the big winner of the summer, and another film that did pretty well is The Rise of Gru, a little Minions film. And those films actually helped make the summer go. And yet some other tentpoles out there that were expected to do quite well, they had some very disappointing results. You've had several of them coming from the same ideologically driven studios that were formerly family friendly, and I'm talking to you, Disney, to pretend that the rejection of the ideologically driven films and remakes by these studios aren't actually poisoning the box office receipts for the exhibitors. Well, that's willful ignorance at this point, if just outright not a lie or complete deceit. But because I don't want to read the actual article to you, I will put in an excerpt that you may have heard from others just a few weeks ago from creators that you actually follow on YouTube. In fact, I think yours truly said some of these things word for word, and I know somebody else did for sure. In recent weeks, theater owners have been expressing concern about the dearth of new releases in the coming months, but they should be more concerned about what will happen actually next year. Well, guess what? You heard a combination of that from both myself and Tom Connors just a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. So almost word for word, as I said. And we've been calling this out, not just me, not just Tom, but many others. We've been calling out this problem with Hollywood studios for quite some time. They're actually in the process of playing catch up, and that's really hurting exhibitors right now. They're the ones that are suffering, and of course the audiences, because they're looking for something new to watch, and in absence of that, they go back to something tried and true, like Top Gun Maverick. Strangely enough, these studios seem to think that a rescue is on the horizon. I have no idea why. They're primarily relying on studios like Disney to release some things that will be somewhat popular. And again, my question is, why? The content that's been masquerading as entertainment from Disney is so politically driven, as I mentioned before, that it's going to underperform going forward. It will. And I think that peak Marvel is way behind us. I think it ended with Endgame and everything else that's come afterwards, including the television programs that some people seem to enjoy. I don't know how, but that's on you. I'm not going to yuck your yum. They've just disappointed. And they're going to continue to disappoint any and all of these programs and films going forward because they're so full of the message. So The exception to all of this could be Guardians of the Galaxy 3, at least when that comes to theaters next year. I expect everything after that, at least as far as Marvel is concerned, to, be more like the Thor numbers and possibly even less in box office receipts than that domestically. For Lucasfilm, another Disney nameplate, I fully expect that the Indiana Jones film will actually completely destroy the franchise and the characters. And I think that after Thursday previews will probably really disappoint based on everything that we've heard about this script, despite the fact that it's been, pushed back a year and we haven't heard any confirmation about the refreshed filming or any of these other things. Well, I am not sure that this film's really going to do much, if anything, other than destroy, as I mentioned before, a pretty stable brand for decades. I wonder why Disney's doing this to all their very stable IPs. Anyway, Tom Cruise will likely be looked at or looked to save the day once again, because he's going to be releasing Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which I think is going to be quite good. We've seen a bunch of examples of the stunts that are being performed in that film, and man, Tom has just been killing it at the box office lately. And what's really hurt the box office is the fact that they took so much time off at the studios. They did. In the midst of the global crisis, they stopped making content for a considerable period of time. So you're going to see even fewer films than you did this year in 2023. And that's staggering. You're going to see a drop that, is over a third from what we had in 2019. I think there's only about 77 films coming out. So the news is even worse than most people will be able to grasp. Of course, the numbers could change. They could release more films in 2023, but it's going to require a lot more money. It's going to require the green light of other projects that are pushing one project along faster and faster. It's going to rely on a lot of people delivering practical effects things instead of special effects things. There's a lot involved in making that work. I wouldn't count on those changes being made. I wouldn't count on the industry, coming to grips with the fact that they need to make films quickly because they're just not really good at it. So one of the other things that slowed them down, and nobody can argue this, to be honest with you, is they put in place some very ridiculous protocols and practices for the productions during the global crisis that they have left in place. And that results in very, very expensive film and television making. And Hollywood is doing their best to kind of thwart that with some tax incentives to the tune of $913 million of California taxpayer money. But you're starting to see studios reject the idea even utilizing that. In fact, they're moving more and more productions outside of California and actually outside of the United States as a whole. You're seeing a lot of Hollywood entities, or at least these production companies, looking at India to make films. I wonder why. It's because doesn't cost a lot of money there, and they don't have a lot of these rules in place. So I'm going to state this for the record, and you can, quote me on it if you want to in the future, but I think that Black Adam, Wakanda Forever, and Avatar are not going to be any form of box office gold at the end of the year. And unfortunately, well, that's just not going to be the rescue boat for the exhibitors or for the studios. I think they're going to have a very, very slim quarter as we get closer and closer to the holidays. Now, I could be wrong. All of those films could certainly perform as expected, but I don't think so. I think that the pent-up demand for Avatar just isn't there, and I think that films like Black Adam and Wakanda Forever are going to contain so much messaging that the fans may just decide to get off of that train. And I'll be honest, because of the look of Black Adam, it does feel very Zack Snyderverse-y. You may not get the kind of box office that you would hope for out of that film. Now, I think they picked a great Black Adam. I think The Rock is a good character. I just hope they put together a good story and that film can beat my expectations. I just don't think it's going to. And I think Wakanda Forever is just not going to land well. And I think outside of Thursday, Friday, Saturday on its first weekend, those numbers are going to disappoint as well. So I want to put something into perspective as far as the overall box office is concerned. And this is going to be something that's kind of staggering. Tom Cruise is responsible for 1/5 of the total box office take this year. 1/5. Just Tom Cruise in one movie, Top Gun Maverick. Imagine what Dead Reckoning is going to do with Mission Impossible next year. Hopefully the same, since the window will be similar, and I have a feeling it's going to stomp out all the other competition. Audiences are becoming even more savvy now, is probably the best way to describe it. They're not going to waste money anymore on cinema offerings that are reported to contain ham-fisted versions of the message, right? So films that have like an epic box office take on their Thursday preview, you know, the big number, right? Well, I think that those are going to continue to not indicate success for the overall performance of the film, because I think that citizen journalists like myself are going to see these films and just kind of be able to give you like an idea of just how much garbage is inserted within. And that's actually something that, you know, we should probably lean into, because one of the reasons that YouTube removed the thumbs down button is because of people like me. Well, and people like you watching this content. They don't like the idea that we can send a message to the corporate partners and to other people through that dislike button that this is not something that the majority of people want. Because again, they've only been catering to a very small fractional minority, which isn't making them a lot of money. And people can only be fooled for so long. At least that's been my experience over my lifetime. But look, YouTube removed the thumbs down button in service of their corporate partners, and it's actually not having that desired effect, at least not what they were hoping for. And creators are getting out in front of all of these products, right? They're getting out in front early. We obviously outnumber the corporate shills that are out there by 1,000-fold. So you're going to see more of us than them. And, you know, they can push the mainstream message, but it doesn't compete with what we're doing here. And I want to say thank you to you for that. Of course, all the countermeasures that are employed now, at least when they're trying to fight off the negative press that we kind of create here, which I don't think is negative. It's just we're being honest about what we see. Well, those studios, they're running the same playbook. They attack fans. And let me tell you, none of these countermeasures that are being employed actually have any weight on the audience, because they've seen it all before. I mean, how many times are you going to run the same playbook? Misogyny, blah, 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 blah. You know, you can't get away with it, because we call the plays before they even get there. It's like, well, this is the problem with this show. And we called out CGI, but knew full well they were going to hit us back with some misogyny message, because that's what they do. That's all they've got. You can't fight back with, you know, we didn't make something good. We made something full of this message garbage that nobody's interested in. They can't admit to that. So anyway, back to the main subject of the video. Sorry for the tangent. The trades are starting to steal from creators, in my opinion. I mean, maybe you've heard something like that. They sound a lot more like us, at least the last few weeks. So at the end of the Variety article, the proof is in the pudding there. They're actually stating in the article what we've been saying for a while and what Wall Street realized about 2 quarters ago, which is streaming isn't the cash cow that, was promised by any of these entities, of course. I have another story that's actually coming out later this week that will actually address just how poor some of these plans are in order to get more people, or money, I should say, more money out of people who are subscribed to these services. But hopefully we'll get that out in the next couple of days, if not tomorrow. But you're gonna see a lot of these studios have to lean back in to making films. They're going to have to make good quality films in order to get the audiences back into theaters to enjoy them. They're going to have to satisfy people like you and me. Well, that'll be a big change for them, won't it? But they're also going to have to do something I don't think that they realize they're going to have to do, which is eat a lot of crow and apologize to these exhibitors. Because let me tell you, AMC, many of these other entities, they deserve an apology. All of the regional chains deserve an apology. All of the mom and pop theaters deserve an apology, because they're going to be the ones with the power going forward into the next negotiation. And I hope they take advantage of it. But hey, we're at the end of the video. I'm going to ask you, what do you think, right? Have the trades and the industry in general been listening to our criticisms and finally come around to understanding the audience and the fact that they're roundly rejecting the latest material that has the message just stuffed in it? Have creators on YouTube and other similar platforms had such broad effect that they're actually literally turning back an industry? That's quite possible as well. And have you seen the recent coverage by the mainstream media as an acknowledgement of the rebuking of this stuff? Well, to a certain extent, I think there has been some of that. But what do you think? Please leave your comments down in the section below, and we can have a conversation about that indeed. And with that being said, I have to say, please support independent creators out there who are making videos for you outside of what the mainstream's been doing, which is kind of trying to hope that you're putting your head in the sand. And fortunately for me and many of others, you're not doing that. So those independent guys, they get squashed by the logarithm because they obviously are not going along with the message. And they can use your support. So anytime you can engage with content in any way, like, share, subscription, comment, that's going to help everybody grow. And when you do it for me, I truly appreciate it. So I know they will appreciate it as well. Be sure to take care of yourself, though. Take care of others. Wash your hands because it's good hygiene. And until next time, bye. Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts. Yay! Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can, as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.